refresh on your brain just to keep up with all the AI stuff happening these days.
It's really moving so fast, yeah.
The second you think you've got a handle on it, bam, something new blows up your newsfeed.
That's the truth. Keeps things exciting, though. What seemed impossible a few years back is just normal now.
Speaking of things that seem impossible, we're diving into something called many-shot in-context learning today.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one.
And before you hit that skip button thinking it's too techy, trust me, this is a game changer. Even if algorithms aren't really your thing, you know.
It really is. So we've been training AI, specifically these large language models, LLMs as they're called, by basically feeding them mountains of data, right?
Yeah,
For years, that's been the approach, like giving them the world's biggest textbook and saying, go learn everything.
an AI cram session.
Yeah.
But like the entire internet is their study guide.
Exactly. But this new research, it's asking, what if we could teach them differently? What if instead of that textbook, we give them a set of perfectly answered practice exams?
Interesting.
That's essentially what in-context learning is. Show the LLM the way by example.
Okay, that makes sense. But where does the many-shot part come in? Is that
Ah,
just a fancy way of saying lots of examples?
you got it. Many shot means we're not talking a handful of examples. We're talking hundreds, thousands even. And what's wild is with these huge E-sets of examples, the LLMs, they show this huge E-jump in performance across all sorts of tasks too.
Okay, hold on. We keep saying tasks. What are we actually talking
Oh,
about?
yeah.
Is this AI writing haikus or composing symphonies, or be specific?
Think bigger, language translation, summarizing complex documents, even getting creative with different types of writing. You name it.
Okay, so pretty high-level stuff.
And get this, the research shows these LLMs are getting surprisingly good at solving high school level math problems just by looking at enough examples. No formulas or anything. That's the power of pattern recognition.
So you're saying these AI models are basically becoming the ultimate autodidacts, learning by observing. That's both amazing and a tiny bit terrifying, right? Like, what happens when they start acing college-level calculus without breaking a sweat?
It really does make you think about the future of learning, doesn't it? But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's get back to this research. One of the really exciting things about it is how it shows breakthroughs in areas where LLMs have traditionally struggled.
Give me an example.
Take language translation, right? We're not just talking French or Spanish here. This research, it showed incredible improvement in translating Bemba and Kurdish.
Those aren't exactly what you'd call, like, common languages, are they?
Exactly. Languages with complex grammar that often trips up even software that's specifically designed for translation.
Wow. So for someone like me who struggles with ordering a croissant in Paris, this is huge. Does this mean we're getting closer to that universal translator they have in Star Trek?
That's certainly the dream. And this research suggests maybe we're closer than we thought. But here's what's even more fascinating to me. It's how they're overcoming this limitation of needing massive amounts of data for the LLMs to even learn in the first place.
Because, yeah, all those perfectly answered practice exams you were talking about,
Mm.
those can't be easy to come by.
You're absolutely right, and that's where this research gets even more interesting. They've come up with some pretty ingenious solutions, so they've found ways to actually have the LLM generate its own training example.
Hold on. The AI is making its own study guides now. We're in AI inception territory here.
It's called reinforced ICL, and yeah, it's pretty wild. They basically set the LLM loose on a set of problems with known answers.
Okay.
Let it come up with its own examples and solutions.
So they're giving it the test and just seeing what it comes up with.
Kinda, yeah. And then this is the important part. They keep only the examples that lead to the right answers.
Ah, so it's like a self-editing AI tutor.
There you go. Survival of the fittest, but for data.
Love it. Okay, so that's if you have all those right and wrong answers nicely laid out. But what about those situations where you don't, where you're dealing with something new, no neatly labeled data?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another big finding from this research. Unsupervised ICL. They found that in certain cases, you don't even need labeled data at all.
Hold up. Are we saying we could just throw a bunch of data at the LLM and it'll just figure it out?
Not exactly throw it, but showing the LLM a bunch of problems, even without solutions, it can be enough to seriously boost its performance.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So we're at the point where we could just show an AI a bunch of puzzle pieces, no picture on the box or anything, and it might start to figure out how they fit together.
That's a great way to put it. It's like the LLM is looking at those puzzle pieces, noticing the shapes, the patterns, even if it doesn't know what it's building yet. It's starting to get a sense of how those pieces might connect.
It's like these LLMs are developing their own intuition. It's not just mimicking anymore, it's understanding. This is really making me rethink everything I thought I knew about AI.
And this is just the start. What's exciting is this research shows that LLMs are capable of this level of problem solving, of generalizing, that we haven't really seen before.
Okay, but let's bring this back down to earth for a second. If these LLMs are so adaptable, so independent now, what does that mean for us in the real world? Give me an example.
Okay, so take medical research. Imagine an LLM that can look at all this complex medical data, find patterns, maybe even help develop new treatments, new diagnostic tools,
For any disease.
even for rare diseases where there's not much data to work with.
So we're talking about an AI research assistant that can help solve some of the toughest medical mysteries out there.
Exactly, and it doesn't stop at medicine. Climate modeling, financial forecasting, even personalized education. It's really pretty mind-boggling when you think about it.
It's like we're entering a new era of AI. It's not just about crunching numbers or language anymore. It's about genuine understanding.
And we're just scratching the surface. This research, it's really just the beginning of exploring what in-context learning can really do.
Okay, I am fully on board with this whole in-context learning thing now. But all this talk of AI becoming more independent,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, if these LLMs are getting so good at teaching themselves, do we even need to worry about all that initial training data anymore? You know, the mountains of information we were talking about earlier.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And yeah, the researchers actually looked into that. They compared LLMs trained the traditional way with those using this many shot in-context learning.
Okay, and what they find.
Well, it's interesting. The LLMs using in-context learning often did just as well, sometimes even better, than the traditionally trained ones.
So all that time and effort, all those huge data sets,
Eh.
we might not need them as much anymore.
It's got everyone talking, that's for sure. This research makes you wonder if we're on the edge of a whole new way of thinking about AI, how we build it, how we train it.
Okay, so for our listeners who are still processing all this, it's like there might be a faster, better way to teach AI now. We're not just throwing textbooks at it anymore. We're showing it specific examples, letting it teach itself, even letting it figure things out without all the answers up front.
Exactly. And while this research focused on LLMs, who knows how far this goes, could be a game changer for all kinds of AI.
It's like we've given AI the tools to learn more, like we do. And the results are amazing. But like with any big discovery, there are still puzzles to solve.
Absolutely. This is just the beginning. So much more to learn about how in-context learning really works, how to make it even better. The possibilities are huge.
Well, one thing's for sure. This is going to get people talking. And if you, dear listener, want to go even deeper down this rabbit hole, we've got a link to the full research paper in our show notes.
Happy reading.
And until next time, keep those minds curious, folks, because in the world of AI, things are only going to get more interesting from here.